international seminars, conferences, workshops, and panel discussions, etc. And he has a wide experience in coordinating and organizing numerous workshops, seminars, conferences, and other academic discussions. He has also worked as a head corporate relations to strengthen campus industry ties. And he has successfully organized a number of campus recruitment programs and established many potential linkages with esteemed organizations and corporate houses. So currently, Sir is serving as the president of Madhya Pradesh Economic Association and managing editor of Journal of Madhya Pradesh Economic Association. And also, he's an executive council member of Indian Economic Association. So I welcome you, sir, for today's session, and I hope people will be they'll be able to get the most out of your session today. So welcome you, sir. Over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much, Manoma. It was wonderful to hear it from you. Though the CV which you have been presenting right now is my 3 years old CV, this is not my current CV. Anyhow, thank you so much for
Okay.
introducing me here. It's a pleasure. I mean, I'm thankful to Vikas because has been in touch with me for last couple of years, and he's been requesting me to, to connect with this research association, which is handling very beautifully. And but somehow it was not feasible. I tried my level best to connect with him, to connect with his program, but I couldn't really do so. I'm extremely sorry because for that. But today I could finally, uh, come and join you all, and whatever little I will have, I'll just share with you all. It's a beautiful topic, when we talk about ethical standards and how writing should be done, publication should be done. I'll just start with a couple of case studies which are very relevant, which are very important. There's a very live case which happened in 2015. There was a prominent professor with the name of Ranjit Kumar Sharma. I'm just presenting his case, and he has authored many articles, many books to his credit, and has also published a lot of research papers in medical science. And he produced one important publication in medical science. And later on, and that was basically a research paper which discovered breakthrough treatment for a common ailment, whatever it was. And later on, this was found to be, there were a lot of problem. It was found that this paper which he has presented has plagiarism. The study was found to be copied from previous research articles without citation. That was a violation of ethical standards as far as the originality of the work is concerned. And also, it was found that the data which Mr. Ranjit has presented had that was fabricated, that was purposefully fabricated just to benefit somebody. And it carried falsification because there were a lot of elements of manipulation were also involved in that. Certain results were found to be purposefully designed in such a way that just to make this treatment, whatever treatment he was suggesting, to be very effective in curing that particular ailment. And this is how this was done. And you know uh, even the authorship, some of the things, some of the contributions which he has mentioned were not the original authors. They were, those were the, some individuals was contributing a little bit, but they were projected as a main authors of that work. And that definitely there was a conflict of interest because this was done with some kind of financial ties. One could understand that there was some kind of financial association, financial tap with pharma companies to benefit or to promote a particular treatment. So that was the case, and this case clearly indicates that there are some unethical ways of publication which can really play a very disastrous role in our country, in our economy, anywhere in the world. If somebody is coming out with a treatment which and promoting that treatment to be based on a original research, and he is claiming this treatment to be the most viable treatment of of for the ailment of that particular disease. And if this becomes published and this becomes in the this comes in the public domain, then this can really damage the whole society. This is one case which I have presented in before you. There are many more cases. Another case is a Mr. SS case, Satyendra Singh case. This happened in 2019, and he published an academic. This is regarding academic work. He published an article uh, in the field of environmental science, and uh, purpose was to come out with some kind of a amicable solution when it comes to environmental science. And even this work was found to be plagiarized. This multiple multiple papers, uh, you know, multiple studies were quoted by this gentleman without citation, without appropriate citation, and also it was found that the study was conducted. It was claimed that study had an extensive field research and investigation had been done, but later on it was found that all the studies were fabricated. The studies were not done at all, and the results were fabricated. And whatever outcome was suggested by Mr. Satyendra Singh, they had no reality, no connect with the real world measurements. That was the outcome. And also, the Mr. Satyen Singh has presented some kind of outcome, some kind of results which were absolutely manipulated to show the significant environmental impact, which in reality does not exist, did not exist. Also, it was found that Mr. Satyendra Singh has published multiple journals before this article, and also all these articles were either copied or were mentioned without citation. And another allegation, which later on was proved, that Mr. Satyendra Singh has included, uh, when it comes to respecting the authorship of a material, it was found that he has not actually quoted the original authors who were involved in some way in the study, but he has fabricated, he has practiced malpractices, and even the manipulation was done when it comes to actual authorship. In reality, this was a ghost of authorship, and the real authors were not being mentioned by Mr. Satyendra Singh. And also, it was found later on that there was some kind of financial tap between Mr. Satyendra Singh and some NGOs who had some vested interest in that. So this is another example which clearly indicates that there are some unethical things which happens in publications. Now we need to understand what actually we mean by ethical standards in publication. When we talk about ethics in publications, we normally refer to some kind of guidelines which are followed in order to conduct the studies. It is studies means any kind of research paper, any kind of outcome, any kind of report. I mean, we need to follow some prescribed guidelines when it comes to publication, when it comes to writing a research paper or writing written content, whatever, wherever we want to use that. What are the now comes, when we talk about publication ethics, what actually we mean by those publication ethics? We always want that there has to be honesty and integrity. We cannot publish any research article, we cannot publish any report or any contents without compromising with honesty and integrity. That is the most important thing. And if the finding need to be accurately mentioned without fabrication, without falsification, and at the same time also inappropriate data manipulation, that should be completely avoided. If you are publishing an article which is without fabrication, without falsification, and without any inappropriate manipulations, then you ensure that your article has honesty. You are following the standard of honesty and integrity in your writing work. So that need to be taken care of. Another, we need to learn one thing, that is, we need to respect the intellectual property rights of others. If, for example, Manoma has written an article, and if I'm working on the same aspects, then I it becomes my responsibility. It becomes my it becomes you know it becomes, I need to be absolutely loyal to what Manoma has done. So in mentioning, when I mention this study which has been done by Manoma, I need to mention her name. Otherwise, this study which I'm doing, and already referred Manoma in my own as a review of literature. And if I don't mention her, I don't acknowledge her the authorship of Manoma, then this would be absolutely giving disrespect to Manoma. So respect for intellectual property right is very important. Whatever ideas, whatever data, whatever text I read from an article, it becomes my responsibility that this article is properly been cited, and I have a proper acknowledgement of the authorship of Manoma. Otherwise, whatever I do would be absolutely injustice to Manoma, and whatever I do, that will not be that will be absolutely unethical in my way. So when we talk about ethical standards in publication, the respect of intellectual property right is absolutely needed, and that should be taken care of. Whenever we do research, whenever we pursue any kind of study, the conflicts of interest is very, very important, and that should be avoided. If, for example, if this research, any research which I'm pursuing is going to provide me any kind of financial, any kind of personal, or any kind of professional benefits, then that kind of work should should be very cautiously taken care of. Otherwise, you should not indicate to the society, you should not indicate to the stakeholders that you're doing this work for other people. It means there should be no question mark on the outcome of your research. So that should be very, very properly managed. Otherwise, if you really disclose some kind of financial, personal, or professional conflicts with the stakeholders, then there's a big question mark on ethical standards of your publications. Another very important thing is that uh, uh, you should adhere to the peer review process. Whatever peer review process you follow, you should absolutely stick to that. Otherwise, your study would not be properly evaluated, and your study would not be fairly evaluated, rather, and it would have elements of biasness in that. So in order to avoid the elements of biasness, we should adhere to the a very transparent peer review process. Another very important thing is that whenever we are engaged in research, we are accountable. We are accountable to many people. First of all, we are accountable to ourselves. Whatever we do, whatever uh, practices, whatever process we follow, whatever process of methodology we follow, whatever, however, whatever, understanding we have in framing the conceptual framework of our study, how the rationale of our study is designed, how do we design the research design of our study. We need to be accountable. We cannot involve any kind of miscalculation, any kind of malpractices, any kind of manipulations in that. We should not ease out. We should not follow a track which is easier to us. We should follow a track which really leads to the objective of our study. If we feel that this is a shortcut and this is going to provide us an easy solution, then that should not be done. So we need to be accountable to ourselves. We need to be accountable to the many stakeholders which are engaged in our process. Also, when we the another important, whenever we engage in research, one of the important outcome of any research is that it should adhere to the quality standards. If we are not able to achieve the quality standards of a prescribed research, then that research would involve the elements of manipulation, elements of dishonesty, elements of unethical publications in that. Genuineness of that work would be a question mark, and that should be absolutely avoided, because we look forward to accurate representation of findings. If we are not able to provide accurate representation to findings, then things would not work for us. Another very important thing is that whenever we engage in research, we need to safeguard the participants' right. That is very important. Ethical practices require researchers to have an informed consent. If, for example, I'm going to conduct a research, and I'm going to Vikas, and I'm going to go to Vikas and ask and request him for a particular uh, request him to provide me some data on a particular indicators, then I need to have a consent from Vikas. I need to have a consent for number of people to whom I'm going to approach. If I don't have a consent, without their consent, I take data from them, and then I later on convert this data into a research paper or publication, then that is absolutely wrong. I need to bother about accurate research to all of us. Another important aspect is that I'm just going to give certain examples of unethical practices in publication. I just told you that it's when I'm going to copy somebody's text, I'm going to copy somebody idea, I'm going to I'm going to understand somebody else's expression, and then I put all these things into my own words without the citation of this gentleman, then this is known as plagiarism. Now, when we talk about plagiarism, the next thing which comes in a mind, that actually what plagiarism is all about. What are the examples of plagiarism? For example, if I make a statement that the quick brown box jumps over a lazy dog, if I if this is something, this is the original text. If I say Vikas has done a work on uh, 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 eliminating poverty in Amarkantak, and he has done some work on an aspect of eliminating poverty. And if I take exact same lines and same text from his study, and I quote in my own study the same thing without citing Vikas, then this is a case of direct plagiarism. I cannot do so. Whatever work has been done by somebody, then if I take that work, I need to mention, I need to cite it. Without citation, if I write absolutely the same text which had already been written by somebody else, and I claim it to be on my work, then this is absolutely wrong. This is absolutely unfair, and this is known as direct plagiarism. Another example which you all must have heard about is self plagiarism. If if I, for example, if I have done certain works, I written a research paper, and I sent this research paper to the multiple journals without indicating that this has already been published before. This is my work. I can send it to one publisher. I cannot send it to the other publisher the same article. But if I'm doing so, if I'm sending my own article to number of public publishers, number of journals without indicating that this has already been published, then this is the case of self-plagiarism. This has to be avoided. There are many more examples of self-plagiarism and direct plagiarism. I'll come to that later on. And another, this is something very, commonly used by the smart youth, the students of our universities nowadays, and that is known as the patch writing. This is another way of plagiarism. What happens is that if I take a paragraph from one article, if I take another paragraph from another article, I take third paragraph from another article, and I very smartly mix all the three paragraphs and convert into one paragraph, and I later on claim this is my own paragraph, then this is also a case of plagiarism, and this is also known as the patch writing plagiarism. This is not fair. This is absolutely wrong. For example, if I say that Vikas has done a work on eliminating poverty in Amarkantak district, and he has said that poverty is because of lack of resources. Fine, this is one article. Later on, he also has written somewhere that lack of resources are because of lack of mismanagement in Amarkantak district. Then what I'm going to do, if I mix both the statement and I say that poverty is happening in Amarkantak district because of lack of resources, and lack of resources are being caused because of mismanagement or lack of governance. If I quote this as my statement, then this is absolutely wrong, and this is the case of patch writing, because I'm taking different patches from different work of different authors, and I'm converting these different small patches, and I'm making my own statement, and I claim this to be my own statement. This is absolutely wrong, and this also comes under the plagiarism. Another way of plagiarism is accidental plagiarism. Sometimes we are not aware. It happens with many students, many researchers, that they fail to cite a particular source, or they misquote a particular source unintentionally. I don't have an intention, but I can do this without uh, you know without mentioning that this work has already been done. So this is something, this also comes under the category of plagiarism. And sometimes, there are I absolutely, knowingly or unknowingly, if I take somebody else's work completely, and I sometimes students normally do that. They take somebody's work as it is, the way it has been presented before, and I later on claim it to be my work. Hello,
Yes, sir.
something
Yes, sir. Yes.
कुछ प्रॉब्लम है कहीं पे?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, somebody wants to ask something.
I think no,
Hello,
sir.
sure, can I go ahead? Hello.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Please continue, sir. Please continue.
Yeah. Now, if plagiarism happens, yes, yes. If plagiarism happens, the next thing is that how to avoid this plagiarism. You know, the very simple principles of avoiding plagiarism. Number one, we have to cite the source properly. It is always let us always give credit to the original author. Whoever is the original author, we have to give the proper credit to the original author. If we don't do so, and remember, even if I get the idea, if for example I read any article and if I get an idea that how poverty can be eliminated and why farmers are committing suicide, if I just read an article and I get an idea why farmers are committing suicide in Vidya Maharashtra, and if I do some study on farmer suicide, I quote that study that farmers are committing suicide because they have this reason or that reason, because that work has already been done by somebody else, and if I quote this in my study that this is also wrong, I need to quote it. I need to quote that yes, this study has been done by somebody in the Vidarbha Maharashtra, and the farmers are committing suicide because of this reason. Then I need to mention that author's name. Otherwise, whatever I'm going to say, that's an absolutely wrong practice, and that comes under plagiarism. So I need to be very, very fair. And tell me one thing: why should not I quote? Why should why I should not give credit to the original author even if I get an idea? So some people have a wrong perception that unless if I just take the text and then I mention, it's fine. If I take an idea, why should I mention? Idea is not yours. Idea is somebody else. Somebody else has worked for many years, and after that he has proposed that this is the reason that farmers are committing suicide. So this idea has come from his study. So it becomes very important for all of us to mention the author's name. So any expression, if for example Manoma engages in certain kind of study where she presents an idea, where she presents some expression, and I like that presentation, I like that idea, and also I find that idea to be relevant, that I later on mention in my study, then it becomes my responsibility. It becomes my it becomes my accountability that I should give proper credit to Manoma. Otherwise, without mentioning, without citation, this study would come under the domain of plagiarism. Also, when we convert, when we paraphrasing is something, uh, very important. If I, you know, uh, uh, for example, I read an article and I like couple of lines, couple of sentences, and then I reframe that into my own language. And I said, then why should I mention somebody else's name? If Vikas has done a work, then I take something from his study and write in my own language. Uh, and then I say that why should I mention Vikas' name in that? Then that's a wrong practice. I need to mention his name because this is his work. I'm just understanding his work and I'm just quoting his work. It becomes my important responsibility that I absolutely mention Vikas as an original author, and then I can carry forward what is review of literature. When we engage in research, what is review of literature? Review of literature is nothing but that, and that makes you to understand what kind of work has already been done. For example, I need to work on farmer suicide in Maharashtra, and then I need to understand why the farmers are committing suicide. Do I have an idea? No, I don't have an idea why farmers are committing suicide. So what I'll do, I'll go through different literature which have already been published. I understand A author, B author, C article, D article, and those articles are already been confined to farmer suicide. Every article is going to give me some kind of a direction. If one article would say that farmers are committing suicide because of lack of income, another article would say that farmers are committing suicide because of lack of resources. Another article would say that those farmers have committed suicide more who had land size less than 3 acres. Small farmers or marginal farmers are committing suicide more. And another article would say that farmers are committing suicide because they had indebtedness. उनके ऊपर बहुत पुरानी पीढ़ियों पर लोन था. So these articles, why I'm reading these articles are giving me the indicators of my study. So when I'm framing my own research design, when I'm framing my own conceptual framework of my own study, then it is my responsibility that I quote all the studies which I'm referring to. Whatever studies I've been going through, whatever literature I'm going through, it becomes my responsibility that I mention and I cite each one of them. If I fail to do so, then I'm not loyal to my research. I'm not loyal to those researchers, and that comes under the category of unethical standards in publication. No, we should not do that. Another, uh, whenever we pursue research, whenever we pursue PhD, or whenever we engage in research, we go through different review of literature. But a common mistake which every researcher normally makes is that they don't keep track of sources. They don't keep. They read an article, they find that article to be very valuable, and they just take the common uh, whatever in the form of abstract or whatever findings they mention those findings in their research, and then later on they don't keep the reference of that book citation. They don't keep the record of that citation. So it is important to maintain the notes of all sources, whatever sources you are following, whatever sources you are approaching, you are consulting. It is very important that you have a proper attribution to those resources. Otherwise, then if you don't keep a proper track of the sources, then this is going to create a lot of problem to you all later on. A case study, I'll just mention. There was a professor in University of Delhi. This is a case of 2018, and there was a student rather. He presented his PhD on sociology in the University of Delhi in 2018, and uh, this study he submitted, and it was found later on that uh, it has a substantial portion of copied content from various sources, and those sources were not cited at all. And more than 40% of the content was found to be plagiarized. And that was based upon existing research papers, articles, and books. And those were not mentioned by that particular student in referencing at all. So this is a case of direct plagiarism. Why? Because just excuse me. Why? Because he has copied. He has referred to many articles which are already being published. He has gone through different articles and books. Another example, uh, it is a case in the field of journalism. There was a journalist who found to have fabricated quotes and reused content from his earlier article. There was, if I'm a electronic media journalist, and I, for example, has covered a story 4 years back, and today again similar kind of incidents take place, and I use the same kind of I reuse, I recall my old story which I done 4 years back, and I quote almost the same kind of content, same kind of expression again after 4 years back. Then this is also a case of plagiarism. I cannot do so. This I'm playing with the emotions of my listeners. This is absolutely wrong. Fine. Another uh, story was this is later New York Times 2018. A reporter has been involved into extensive plagiarism and fabrication in reporting. Uh, he copied a lot of text from other newspapers and made up the quotes and details, claiming that it is his article. At many times हम लोगों ने बहुत बार देखा है कि people write articles and they take a lot of small patches from different newspapers, and then they convert it into their own language and they claim that this is their article. So that is also a case of plagiarism. That is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Dissertations at postgraduate level in uh, Oklahoma University in 2018, there was a dissertation was found to be a lot of dissertations were found plagiarized because that included many sections that was uh, already been covered by other authors some year back, but that was used by this author without citation. Even in the Harvard University in 2008, a significant number of students in the government in a class were found to be their work was found to be plagiarized because and home assignment was given to the students, and when these students submitted this assignment later on, they found to be plagiarized. I don't know whether you will agree with me or not. We have often seen, and I don't know how many of you are from a management stream or any stream where MRPs, major research, minor research project of MRPs are submitted by a student in as a compliance of their semester examination, and they are engaged in some 1 month or 1.5 month study, and they have to write MRP. Most of the MRPs are found plagiarized because they copy each other's they copy uh, they rather reproduce a work which has been done 4 years back with a similar kind of uh, title. So that also comes under the plagiarism. So, you know, these are the cases which are normally these were the cases which are Western world cases. Now, I'll also indicate some of the Indian cases which come under the notable real examples when it comes to plagiarism in India. There was a case of Mr. B.S. Rajput. He was engaged in a lot of controversy he has taken uh, many uh, portions in his work from other sources, but those sources were not duly respected. Those sources were not duly mentioned, cited by Mr. B.S. Rajput. This is a very common thing which people do. Another one of the Mr. Sangilandi, he was found to have copied last section of his published work from other authors, including entire paragraphs without citation. Paragraph to paragraphs were taken into account, and those were not being cited by this gentleman, and he claimed later on that this is my work. Another uh, some Professor Kundu. he also faced some allegations of plagiarism in his published articles, and those articles, those research contents was nothing but reuse from other researchers, which was done some year back, and those names were not being cited by Mr. Kundu. So that is a very common example which normally we see that. Mr. Zambi Singh was another case where he produced his doctoral thesis, and he has taken a substantial portion of his doctoral thesis from other existing literature, and he did not bother to cite those authors and those uh, owners of that existing literature. So that also comes under the category of plagiarism. Uh, One more case where it's a case of a chemistry professor where he retired, and later on, after his retirement, his 70 articles were categorized as a plagiarized articles because uh, when the software came and his uh, uh, those software applied, and his 70 articles were found to be plagiarized. So this is how plagiarism can damage not only your reputation, but it can harm the society. It can really do a lot of damage to one's self-respect. At the same time, it can damage the purpose for which the research has been carried out. Even many, it's a case of a very one IIM professor, one IIT professor rather. His work was later on found to be plagiarized, with more than 70% of his work was found to be plagiarized. So these cases, clearly indicate that when we are copying text without citation, and when we are uh, paraphrasing without credit, when we are submitting a classmate's work without his consent, if somebody, if some of your friend has done a work, you reproduce the same work with your name, even that is a plagiarism. So using ideas without acknowledgement is also the part of plagiarism, citing incorrectly or fabricating sources. Then likewise, when we mosaic plagiarism is a case where we take different phrases from various sources and mix them and present in our article. Direct examples of plagiarism. Now, if, for example, there's an unethical practice